Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. When I saw this story, I had to talk about it. So you had a group of armed white men take over a federally owned wildlife sanctuary. They held this sanctuary for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Just think about that for a second. Let that sink in. 6 weeks. Eventually, these people were arrested and they were charged with federal conspiracy and weapons charges, and they were put on trial. And shortly before they were arrested, one member of the group was killed by federal agents. So that's an important fact to note. But they were put on trial, they were tried, and yesterday they were all found to be not guilty. Now, I want to just talk about this for a second, because what we have here is another example of white privilege. You have armed men taking over federal property. There's no question about that. There's no doubt that they took over this property. That's not even in question or dispute. There's no doubt that these people were armed. But yet these people were found not guilty. If that was a group of black people, they wouldn't have even gone to trial. They would have been wiped out, period. They would have been killed. Because when the police react to black people, they overreact. They shoot first and ask questions later. And this is another example of how the police are biased. In a situation involving Tamir Rice, a young brother, 12 years old, playing in a park in Cleveland, Ohio, with a BB gun. The police rush on the scene without asking any questions, without conducting any investigation, without waiting around. These people rush onto the scene, and within a few seconds, they take that brother's life. They didn't have that approach when it comes to these white people that took over federal property. And we can think about the situation of Philando Castile, the brother who was in a car and was stopped by the police. The police asked this brother to get his ID. He tries to do so, and they shoot this brother dead. Blood is coming out of his chest, while his girlfriend is capturing the whole incident live on Facebook. This brother's breathing his last breaths. They were eager to just shoot that brother. Trigger happy when it comes to black people. But when it comes to white people, let's wait it out. Let's wait weeks upon weeks. Let's reason with them. That's the approach of the government when it comes to white people. But when it comes to black people, it's shoot first and ask questions later. And we are reminded of the situation in Baltimore County, Maryland, where the sister Corinne Gaines was gunned down by the police. And her son was shot by the police. A little boy shot by the police. No police have been charged with that shooting. There has been no discipline for those police or anything. That's how they deal with black people. But when it comes to white people, it's hands off. Let's take this gradually. Let's reason with them. Let's negotiate with them. So this exposes the racist nature of police, how they are inclined to be kind to whites who are armed and all that kind of stuff. They're inclined to negotiate with them. But when it comes to us, they just shoot first and ask questions later. If we look at how the police have dealt with armed groups of black people, we can see the hypocrisy. When we look at how they dealt with the Black Panther Party by killing members and locking members up, Members of the Black Panther Party are even locked up today, still held as political prisoners in this country that professes to be a democracy. When we can look at the situation in Philadelphia, how the police dealt with MOVE when they dropped bombs on a community and killed a lot of people and destroyed all kinds of property. That's how they deal with black people. But again, with these white people, it's hands off. Let's take our time. Let's reason with them. Let's rationalize with them. Let's negotiate with them. And then when it comes to the criminal justice system, the system is unfair, to say the least. It is not a criminal justice system. It is a criminal and unjust system. That's what it is. Black people get locked up for minor offenses, for simple stuff. But when it comes to these white people, they give them the benefit of the doubt, and often they get off, or they get much lighter sentences than black people do. If black people did this again, if they were even alive afterwards, because the police would go in shooting first, if they lived, they would have been given the maximum sentence without a doubt. And one of these people said that they were inspired by religion to engage in this armed protest. Imagine if a Muslim said something like that. That Muslim would be called a terrorist. He would be a terrorist. If a Muslim engaged in this activity, they would be in Guantanamo Bay. They would be an enemy combatant. That's what would happen to them. But because these people are white, they're not terrorists. That brings me to another point. The media. The media did not call any of these people terrorists. They didn't call any of these people thugs or gangsters or any of that stuff. But when black people hold nonviolent demonstrations demanding justice, when they hold nonviolent demonstrations against police brutality, they are labeled as thugs, they are labeled as rioters, they are labeled as hooligans, and all that stuff by the media. They're in fact called unpatriotic, like when you have the example of Colin Kaepernick holding a protest against police brutality, he is labeled as unpatriotic. But yet you can have these white men pointing their guns at federal agents, speaking anti-government rhetoric, but they're not called anti-patriotic. They're not called unpatriotic. They are called patriots. They are labeled as heroes and celebrated in many quarters. This whole situation just exposes the hypocrisy of this country.